And I think we have Yashwini Mataji and Rajshri Mataji. Is that right?
That's correct.
So
I'm here.
Yes, we both are here.
Yes, Madhu.
Let me just get my screen. Hold on one second. I need to share the screen. Please let me know if you all can see the screen.
Yes,
Yes,
Madhu.
we can see.
So it is 47. I think we can start. Gautam Mataji, I've given you the recording rights.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. Sorry for the trouble. Yes, I'm recording now. Thank you.
No trouble at all. I am a bit like all over. I had some problem with my Safari window, and that's why the last minute it was a bit of a hassle, but all sorted now. So thank you very much. We can start.
Hare Krishna. My humble obeisances to all the devotees. I seek your blessings. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 1. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha. Urdhva Mulam Adashakam Ashwatham Prahuravayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavid.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas.
Text 2. Adhaschordhvam prashritas tasya shakha guna pravidha vishya pravala adhaschamulani anusantatani karmanubandhini manushya loke.
The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society.
The games and the twigs and the branches.
Text 3 and 4. Narupam ase tathopalabhyate nanto nachade nacha sampratishtha ashwathamenam suviruramulam asanga shastrena dhrena chitva tatapadam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuya tameva chadyam purusham prapadde Yata praviti prashrita purani.
The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial.
Text 5. Nirvana moha jitsanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivrita kama dvandve vimukta sukha dukha sanje gachanti amura padam avyam tat.
Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom.
Text 6. Natad bhashyate suryo nashashanko napavaka Yad katva na nivartante tadhama paramam mama.
That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world.
Text 7. Mamavancho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana मनसस्थानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति.
The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind.
Text 8. शरीरं यद् अवाप्नोति यच्चापि उत्क्रमतीश्वरा गृहीत्वेतानि संयाति वायुर्गन्धान् इवाशयात्.
The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another.
Text 9. श्रोतं चक्षुस्पर्शनं च रासनं गहनम् एव च अधिष्ठाय मनश्चायं विषयान् उपसेवते.
The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects.
Text 10. उत्क्रामन्तं स्थितं वापि भुञ्जानं वा गुणान्वितं विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषा.
The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this.
Text 11. यतन्तो योगिनाश्चैनं पश्यन्ति आत्मनि अवस्थितं यतन्तोऽपि अकृतात्मानो नैनं पश्यन्ति चेतसा.
The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly, but those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try to.
Text 12. यदादित्यागतं तेजो जगद्भाष्यते अखिलं यच्चन्द्रमासि यच्चाग्न्यो तत्तेजो विधिमामकम्.
The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me.
Text 13. गामाविश्य च भूतानि धारयामि अहम् ओजसा पुष्णामि चौषधी सर्वा सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मका.
I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables.
Text 14. अहं वैश्वनारो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रिता प्राणापाना समायुक्ता पचामि अन्नं चतुर्विधम्.
I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the four kinds of foodstuff.
Text 15. सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मता स्मृति ज्ञानम् अपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहम् एव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविद् एव चाहम्.
I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
Text 16. द्वाय इम्यो पुरुषा लोके क्षराश्चाक्षरा एव च क्षरा सर्वाणि भूतानि कुतस्थो अक्षरा उच्यते.
There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible.
Text 17. उत्तमा पुरुषस्तव परमात्मेति उदारता यो लोकात्रयम् अविश्य बिभ्रति अव्यय ईश्वरा.
Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the super soul, the supreme soul, the imperishable Lord himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them.
Text 18. Yasmat sharam atitoham aksharad api chottama ato asmi loke vedacha prathita purushottama.
Because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that Supreme Person.
Text 19. Yo mam evam asamuro janati purushottamam sa sarva vid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata.
Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without doubting, is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata.
Text 20. Iti guyatamam shastram idam uktam mayanaga etad budva buddhiman syat kit pityascha bharata.
This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. Hare Krishna.
Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishadsu Brahma Vidya Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjun Samvade Purushottam Yogo Nama Panchadasho Adhyaya. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Thank you, Rajshri Mataji and Yashwini Mataji. Thank you for chanting, reciting this beautiful chapter 15 in this Purushottam month. We are all very fortunate that we are able to get together every evening and chant the chapter 15 together, because Prabhupada says that any kind of devotional service done in the association of devotees is much, much better than trying to do things on your own. So thank you very much. And welcome everybody. So today we will continue studying the chapter 15 and we are going to do verse 13. Let me just bring up my screen. Moment. I need to start sharing screen. Let me know if you can see the screen, the slides.
Yes,
Yes,
Mataji.
yes,
Yes.
Mataji.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Slideshow. One second. Yeah. Okay. Right. Just give me one more minute. There's too many things to adjust with this technology. It's easier to give class in the temple room sometimes. Okay, so we will continue reading chapter 15 and we are doing the verse. Yeah. So before we go on to our verse for today, let's just do a bit of a summary. I think by now all of you must have become experts on the chapter 15. So chapter 15, Purushottam Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person. So yeah, the first 5 verses, Krishna is talking to Arjuna and discussing how this material world is, he uses the analogy of the upside banyan tree and how we are all entangled in this banyan tree, but how we can, there is a way out of it, and the way also is being described. That is how we can cut all this by the acts of detachment and then surrender to the Supreme Lord. And the next verses from verse 6 to 11 is discussing about the transmigration of the living entities, about how, who can understand this? And people who don't have the knowledge do not understand how the soul is transmigrating. And then we come to this section wherein from the verses 12 to 15, we are talking about how Krishna is the maintainer not only is he the maintainer at our personal level and he's maintaining all of us, but he is the maintainer at the cosmic level also. He is maintaining all the universes, not just this, our universe, but all the universes. Am I the only one who can hear some background sounds, or is there some sound? There is some. I'm just going to mute everybody. Yeah, I'm just going to mute everybody. I think that's better. Yeah. So this section, we are discussing about how Krishna is the maintainer at the cosmic level and at the personal level. And yesterday, of course, Mukundhari Prabhu discussed the verse 12 about the sun and the moon and the fire. So let's just dive straight into our verse for today, verse 13. Gam avishya cha bhutani dharayami aham ojasa pushnami choshadi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I enter into each planet and by my energy, they stay in orbit. Sorry, I'm just not able to see this properly. Give me 1 minute, please. I enter into each planet and by my energy, they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. Does anybody want to read the purport?
I can read, Mataji.
Please, Kusum Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you. It is understood that all the planets are floating in the air only by the energy of the Lord. The Lord enters into every atom, every planet, and every living being. That is discussed in the Brahma Samhita. It is said there that one plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, enters into the planets, the universe, the living entity, and even into the atom. So due to his entrance, everything is appropriately manifested. When the spirit soul is there, a living man can float on the water, but when the living spark is out of the body and the body is dead, the body sinks. Of course, when it is decomposed, it floats just like straw and other things, but as soon as the man is dead, he at once sinks in the water. Similarly, all these planets are floating in space, and this is due to the entrance of the supreme energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His energy is sustaining each planet just like a handful of dust. If someone holds a handful of dust, there is no possibility of the dust falling, but if one throws it in the air, it will fall down. Similarly, these planets which are floating in the air are actually held in the fist of the universal form of the Supreme Lord. By his strength and energy, all moving and non-moving things stay in their place. It is said in the Vedic hymns that because of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sun is shining and the planets are steadily moving. Were it not for him, all the planets would scatter like dust in air and perish. Similarly, it is due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the moon nourishes all the vegetables. Due to the moon's influence, the vegetables become delicious. Without the moonshine, the vegetables can neither grow nor taste succulent. Human society is working, living comfortably, and enjoying food due to the supply from the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, mankind could not survive. The word rasat makaha is very significant. Everything becomes palatable by the agency of the Supreme Lord through the influence of the moon. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Kusum Mataji. Thank you for reading this. So before we start, let us just recite the Mangala Charan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Okay, let's see. So, let's look at the main points from the purport. So, the first statement that Prabhupada is making here is that it is understood that all the planets are floating in the air only by the energy of the Lord. Now, straight away, this is pointing out to us that everything that is happening, not just in this universe, but in the entire creation, is by the energy of the Lord. And when we read this statement, the first realization that we must have is none of us is capable of doing anything by ourselves. We cannot exist on our own. We are completely dependent on so many things. And obviously everything is controlled by the Lord. What we need to realize is that nothing is in our control. Everything is beyond our control. There is nothing, not even, we say this thing, but sometimes we say things, but we don't realize it. Not even a blade of grass can move without the sanction of the Lord. And so to realize that we are completely dependent on Krishna, we cannot exist without his mercy. So now let us look at, when we are discussing this, when we are discussing the Gita, and when we come in this knowledge that whatever exists in this material creation or beyond, when we start looking at everything in relation to Krishna, and we've done that in the past chapters when we've discussed the universal form, and we've realized how, when we look at when Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna, he could see the mountains and the rivers and the people and everything existing in this one form. So when we also in our day-to-day life start looking at everything and understanding the relation with Krishna, that is what is knowledge. And that knowledge is being given to us by the Bhagavad Gita. So there's a very, very interesting story about Sir Isaac Newton. Now this story goes to say, so everybody knows Isaac Newton. He was a great scientist, a mathematician, but he was also a very firm believer in God. And one of his friends was an atheistic. So once what Sir Newton decided, he went to a carpenter and he asked him to design the model of our solar system. And after a few days, he went and brought this model back and he placed it on his table. Now, this model was very, very intricately done by the carpenter. It was amazing. Let's see if we can bring up. This is not the model of Isaac Newton, but I couldn't find anything on the internet. So you can see, but how colorful this one is. So this carpenter had made this beautiful model. And the atheistic friend of Sir Newton visited him. And he saw this beautiful model. It was a working model. It wasn't just placed. It was a working model of the solar system. And the friend, again, I can hear some sounds. I need to make mute. I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that's better. So when the friend saw this model, obviously he was quite intrigued and he wanted to see it up close. And he asked Isaac Newton, can I see the model? And obviously, Newton had no reservations about it. So the friend observed it very nicely, looked at it, looked at the intricacies of, the color and the design, and was amazed by it. And he asked Newton, he said, who has made this? And Newton said, oh, it just appeared on my table. And so, the friend asked again, who has made this? Newton again answered that, oh, it has just appeared on its own. And now the friend was losing patience. He could not understand why he was getting this kind of an answer. So then finally, Sir Newton said that, you are not ready to accept that this model of the solar system has appeared on its own. Why then do you think our universe, our entire solar system has appeared on its own? Right? And this is the way that he wanted to prove to his friend that any design demands a designer. Any creation demands a creator. Things don't just happen by themselves. Let's look at another very, very beautiful example. So we all have the brain. I don't use it much, but I'm sure all of you do, but we all have a brain. Now, it is said that, and I am not a doctor, so I'm not an authority, but I am only repeating what I have read. It is said that the doctors say that the brain feels like an unbaked dough. When you have dough, it's like, like that. But it is the most complex computer that the world has ever known, right? And we all know that. We all can see the amount of information that our brain stores. Brain remembers words, colors, names, faces, people, relationships. It says that the brain allows us to store as much information as 500 sets of encyclopedia could store. That is how much our brain can store. And besides that, it also, and these are science, medical facts, so I'm not an authority, but I'm just repeating from what I have read. It says that it consumes over 25% of the body's oxygen, and it receives 20% of all the blood that is pumped from the heart. Now, the amazing thing is not the oxygen or the blood that it receives. The amazing thing is that the brain only makes up 2% of our body. Just 2% of our body, but this is the amount of oxygen and blood that it takes. Besides that, the brain also acts like a doctor for our body. So it is a self-curing doctor in the sense that it produces drugs, various kinds of drugs, from painkillers like endorphins to antidepressant drugs like serotonin, So it's, there's so many functions that the brain is doing. Now let us just think that, I am walking on the street, or I've gone shopping, let's say, and I find a laptop. I find a laptop which is really, really tiny, just weighs around 3 pounds or whatever, and yet it can perform all the complex tasks that any computer in the market can. Would I say that it's just happened by accident? This laptop has developed this kind of mechanism just by accident. So when I'm not willing to accept that something which is material will not happen by accident, even, when you think about how a child is growing in the womb of the mother, like from, from a fetus, from just a tiny, like you cannot even think how tiny, and then it develops with hands and legs and brains and stomach and, the whole system working. It doesn't happen by chance. Obviously there is something, there is somebody that is, behind it. I mean, if we just use our brains, we will realize that, nothing of this is happening by chance. So there is a creator. And what the Bhagavad Gita is trying to do here is trying to give us this knowledge about who is this creator. And the other most important knowledge is, what is my relation to this creator, to this great, great personality? Okay, so let's look at some other points from this verse. Okay. Now, in the verse, Prabhupada says in the next, in fact, the second or the third statement, he says, the Lord enters into every atom, every planet, and every living being. That is discussed in the Brahma Samhita. So I thought it will be nice to see which verse Prabhupada was referring to. So this is Brahma Samhita, verse 3.5. Ekopi asho rachayutam jagadanda kotim yachaktirasti jagadanda chayayadanta andantarastha paramanu chayantarastham govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I just need to change my view. Yeah. So the translation is, he is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I have just taken one very important point from the purport. I mean, of course, the purport that Prabhupada has given is quite long, but I've just taken this very important point from here. And it says, by his inconceivable power, he can at will create numberless universes. All the mundane universes owe their origin to the transformation of his external energy. So it's not just in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is talking about the universe or how he is the creator and, how he is the maintainer. There are other scriptures also which are constantly telling us the same thing, how Krishna is the creator and maintainer of various universes. So okay. Because there are quite a lot of very important points in the purport, so I'm just trying to take points from the purports and discuss those. So the next point that I wanted to discuss was, when the spirit soul is there, a living man can float on the water. But when the living spark is out of the body and the body is dead, the body sinks. Now, what is I'm sure a lot of you will be able to answer this question. What is the quality that the soul has, the living spark has? Anybody?
Consciousness.
That's it. So the symptom of the soul is consciousness. And that is what Prabhupada is talking about here. The living spark. When we are talking about the living spark, it is the soul. So as soon as the soul is out of the body, the body will, like Prabhupada said, the body will just sink. Now, if we take a very mundane but simple example to kind of just understand this, and Prabhupada actually talks about this sometimes. You know, at night when we go to sleep, at that time, we completely forget our body and our bodily relations. Because, why is that? Because we are not conscious at that time. Although it is temporary, but it is kind of explaining to us how, when we are not conscious, we are not aware of anything. You know, also when say there is an operation, if we are undergoing an operation and if we have to take anesthesia, at that time the body does not feel anything, does not have any pain, it does not feel any hunger, there is no feelings, because again, you are not conscious. So we are conscious only because of the presence of the spirit soul. As soon as the soul is out of the body, there is no consciousness and we don't feel anything at all. But the important thing to understand here is that we can only feel the pleasures and pains of our own body. But Krishna can feel the pleasures and pains of every body, every living entity, non-living entity, he knows everything. I mean, non-living entity don't have pleasures and pains. But what I'm trying to say is that Krishna is even within the atom. So he knows everything. So we are very tiny. We are Anu and Krishna is Vibhu. He knows everything, right? We know only about us. And because he knows and he feels and he is our eternal Father, he's so loving that he is giving us all these facilities to maintain ourselves in this material world. You know, when we look at, I mean, everybody has experienced it. When we look at our own parents, they would go through any kinds of pain to give the best to their children. And every parent does that. You know, everybody will do that. They want to give the best to the children. Krishna is the eternal parent. He is so loving. He's so kind. He wants to give us the best. He wants to always look after us and give us the best. So this is from the purport of Bhagavad Gita 2.17, where Prabhupada says, and again I need to change this. Sorry. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body. And this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. So important to understand that no matter how much science has progressed and no matter how much medicine has progressed, we are not in a position to bring the soul back, the consciousness back. Once the consciousness is gone, it is gone. It will not come back. And the only person who can do this is Krishna, right? And so by reading the Shastras and reading the Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures that we have, the Bhagavatam and others, what is happening is that we are being given these eyes to understand. Because sometimes on our own, it is beyond our comprehension. Not just that, sometimes we take things for granted. We don't really put two and two together. Like, let's just take an example. You know, when we enter the elevator and we want to go to the 5th floor and we press the button for 5th floor, and this elevator is going to the 5th floor, and then somebody presses 3 and it stops on the 3rd floor. Now, obviously, there is a lot of intelligence that has gone into this whole process. You know, why just by pressing a button, the elevator is moving? But we have got so used to do these things that it does not, it does not kind of make us go, oh, wow, this is great, because we start taking these things for granted. Same way, we have started taking the fact that the sun rises at a particular time, sets at a particular time. We have the various seasons, the autumn is coming and the trees, the leaves are turning a different color. We start taking all of this for granted, not realizing that somebody is orchestrating all of these things. But when we start studying the scriptures and when we start reading all these things, at that time, we kind of, for a moment, we pause and we realize. Also, what happens is, when let's just say that if we admire somebody for something, for whatever, his achievements, we may say, oh, he's a great, let's say, a singer or a dancer or whatever. And if we really admire somebody, we want to know more about that person's life. How did he come to this stage? What went behind his success? How was his past life like? Who were, parts of his success story? Or, how did he reach here? What did he do? So same way, when we start reading the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam and listening to Krishna Katha and learning more about him, the admiration grows. And the more we start admiring Krishna and all that he can do, we want to know more and more about him. Like yesterday, Mukund Hari Prabhu was speaking about how the sun is giving light to us for how many years, we don't even know that, right? And the intensity has not reduced. And he gave the analogy of how if we burn some wood, after some time, the fire will go out. Now think about this. If the sun was to tilt just a little bit on its orbit, we would burn. The earth would not be able to survive or take the intensity of the sun. So can you imagine how wonderful it is that everything is happening so nicely that sometimes we don't realize that, one tiny thing can have such devastating effects on us. I know all of us right now kind of are seeing what it can do because of this tiny little virus which has got the world to its feet. But that is the reason why at every step, at every moment, we must always try to stay connected to Krishna. Always think about Krishna. And it is not difficult because Krishna makes it really very easy for us to think about him. One of the analogies that I have been taught when I came to Krishna consciousness was, like how a mother constantly thinks of her child and will always want to do what is right for the child. Even for that matter, let's just look at a doctor or a lawyer. A lawyer will put his client first, should do at least, and will want to do the best that he can for the client. Let's think of us as the mother or as the lawyer or as the doctor. If we put Krishna's interest first, if we put Krishna as priority always, that is devotional service. That is what service means. Always thinking that, is this what Krishna wants from me? Will this make Krishna happy? I know it's not easy, and we only can strive to someday think that we will come to that position. But we can see Prabhupada was so successful in every endeavor that he took because he put Krishna's interest first. The only thought that Prabhupada had always was how to fulfill what his Guru Maharaj has asked him to do, how to fulfill Krishna's wish, how to make everybody in this world understand who is Krishna, what is your relation with Krishna, how you can be happy. And he did all the endeavor, but he depended completely on Krishna. So we can only make the effort, but we also have to wait for Krishna's mercy. And Krishna is very, very merciful, and he's always kind to us. And he says that so many times in the Gita. So many times he says to Arjuna that please declare it boldly that my devotees will never perish. So we must have that faith and confidence that if we turn to Krishna, Krishna will also turn to us. Okay, then one more, another point that Prabhupada makes in the purport is, I can't find it here. Yeah, these planets which are floating in the air are actually held in the fist of the universal form of the Supreme Lord. Now, how interesting is that? And can you imagine that? Imagine, I found this picture, which, you know, doesn't really give you but just some kind of an idea of the whole, the universe, the, you know, all these planets are being held in the fist of Krishna. And then in the purport, Prabhupada explains how if somebody holds a handful of dust, then there is no possibility of the dust falling out. But if one throws it in the air, so imagine Krishna right now is holding all these planets in his hand. And that is why we have our solar system, you know, going so very nicely. The planets are not crashing with each other. Nobody is going on, you know, there is no changing of lanes without any signals. You know, everybody is following the rules. But imagine if that fist, if Krishna decides that, you know, he no longer wants to hold these planets. Can you imagine what is going to happen? Like how the dust falls down, yeah, on the ground. Can you imagine what will happen to the planets? Let's not imagine it, because Krishna will always hold it because he's so kind and merciful. So the other thing I thought, because we have discussed the 11th chapter, I will just read the translation here. You are without origin, middle, or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance. So here, it's, you know, it's Arjuna is saying that the sun and moon are your eyes. So Krishna is so kind. He does not need any of these things. He does not need the sun, the moon, the various planets. Everything that is happening is for us, because if there was no sunshine, you know, what would we do without sunshine? As soon as winter starts coming in UK, especially for people like us who have, you know, not been in the UK forever, you know, for me it's just been 13 years. So when it starts becoming dark at 3-4 o'clock, I honestly start missing India, and I feel like, you know, oh my God, I can't deal with this sometimes. Imagine that if there was no sunshine at all the entire day, how would human beings live? And so, of course, in the purport, Prabhupada goes on to explain that how everything that is being given to us and how the human being is living, you know, is because of Krishna. And then this very, very important, this point, he says, due to the moon's influence, the vegetables become delicious. Without the moonshine, the vegetables can neither grow nor taste succulent. And now, we are looking at it from a, you know, Shastric point of view. But even scientifically, it says that the cycles of the moon affect the plant growth. Just as the moon cycle causes tides to rise and fall, it also affects moisture in the soil. So imagine, without the moonshine, we would not have any vegetables, any fruits. There would be nothing edible for us to eat. How dependent we are on Krishna's mercy for everything, for our, you know, each life breath. When we breathe in and out, we are depending on Krishna. So it goes on to say that The seeds absorb more water during the full moon and the new moon, when more moisture is pulled to the soil surface. And this causes the seeds to swell, resulting in greater germination and better established plants. So the moon cycle, apparently there are some plants which grow better during the waxing moon. So if you plant them during waxing moon, and some during waning moon. So the moon has such a tremendous effect on the fruits and vegetables and the plants that we are growing and everything. So what I have gathered from this verse, okay, I will not say what I have gathered. What I'm going to do is, and hopefully we should have this exercise, that after each verse, let's think what this verse is trying to teach us and how we can apply it. Because what happens is sometimes, I think we've discussed this, how gyan becomes vigyan. You have the knowledge, but unless you learn how to apply it in your day-to-day life, it'll just stay as passive knowledge. And we don't want that. We want it to become active. We want Bhagavad Gita to be part of our everyday life. So I would please request all of you, whoever has some realizations from this verse or what you have taken from here, because it is 38 past 8. So we can discuss that for a bit. And I will just stop the screen share. Is that okay? Anybody would like to say what they have taken from this verse, please?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So I was just going to, sorry, there's a bit of background noise.
Is this Hema Mataji?
It is, yes.
Oh, you're using Prabhuji's phone. It comes as his iPhone. That's why.
Using Silashes, yeah.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking of was that, yesterday we talked about breathing and other processes that happen in the body, which Krishna has given us to maintain ourselves. And he's actually made it involuntary, so we don't even realize what Krishna has given us.
Correct.
So he's not looking for gratitude from us, or he's not even wanting for us to think of him all the time. He's just given it to us just so that we maintain ourselves. And I was thinking, there's such a wonderful thing that he's done for us. Everything involuntary, so we don't even know that it's happening, but it's happening. And if it stops, then we would realize, because of disease and all kinds of other things that would come to us. And the other thing about babies, the baby in the womb, I was reading Kapila Dev's instructions, and I thought this was pre 5,000 years ago.
Yes.
He has actually described each layer of the womb. He has described which organ develops for the baby. And science is just now realizing that. Bhagavatam also talks about the relationship of the mother's consciousness to the baby. Again, it's only in the recent years that science is saying that there is a connection of what the mother thinks of during pregnancy.
Yes.
So it's just there's just so much for us to be thankful to Krishna for, which we don't realize.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Just one thing, Krishna is not expecting gratitude from us, but he does love it when we turn towards him. Because like a parent, when a parent does things for the child, it is selfless. The parent does not want that the child will say thank you at every step. But when the child actually turns to the parents and shows them love or gratitude in any way, it doesn't have to be a formal thank you. But, imagine sometimes I've heard our Acharya say that, you bring the fruits from the market, you've kept them on the kitchen table, but the child picks up this fruit and comes and offers it to the father. The father feels so pleased that, my son thought of me. And that is what Krishna is looking for. He does not expect us to, be like, Krishna, you are. But he does expect us, or he does want us to turn towards him with love and say, Krishna, you are so wonderful, and I am nothing without you.
Absolutely. No, that is so true. Absolutely. Thank you, Mataji. Wonderful class.
Anybody else? Anything else? Anybody would like to share? I would really encourage everybody to think for a bit, what this verse is teaching us, what Krishna is saying, and then, share your realizations, please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, because we know that Krishna is there, he is behind each and everything. And because everything is so automatically done, at times it's hard to realize that we have to think of Krishna all the time. It is only by practice and by constant thinking that this is all Krishna's doing, and we have to sort of pay our obeisances or pay our respect to everything that is happening around us. But it is so easily forgotten, and from my point of view, we can understand why people don't think that way at all, because everything is so automatic.
Mataji, Puja Mataji, that is why Prabhupada is talking about Krishna consciousness. Yes. You cannot, out of the blue, one fine day decide that, okay, today I am going to think of Krishna. That is not going to happen. But that is why we are reading the Bhagavad Gita, and in so many places, Krishna is actually teaching us how we can think of him. Like when he says that I am the taste in water, rasoham apsu konteya. Think about it. How many times in a day we have water? And if we practice, it doesn't come automatically. But how come that materially, when the child is born to the mother can think of the child every time, 24/7. Prabhupada also gives the example that how when you fall in love, a young boy, a young girl fall in love, how come they are able to think of, they are the girl or the boy 24/7? So it's the love. Yes, for us, the problem is that because we are not physically able to see Krishna, in the sense we don't have the eyes to see Krishna, so we find it slightly difficult. But that is why we have the scriptures. The Bhagavad Gita is teaching us how we can see Krishna through the eyes of the scripture. We cannot see him with our material eyes. But once we start practicing, and that is why Prabhupada has given us this easiest way of remembering Krishna 24/7 by chanting his holy names. Yes. Krishna is present in his holy names, and that is not difficult at all. And it comes with practice. It doesn't just come like that. It won't happen just like that one fine day. But it'll come with practice.
Yeah. Now in the morning when you drink water, or by about lunchtime you drink water, you remember Krishna. Yes, the taste of water is Krishna. But as the day passes on, towards the evening, at the night time we are going to sleep, when you drink water, somehow, personally, I'm talking about myself, it escapes that we have to think of, it is Krishna, that is the taste of the water. But it is variable times of the day that we remember him, and at that time we don't remember him. Yes, we do the mantras 24 hours trying to remember him. But as you say, it is with the practice. I hope that we develop this consciousness all the time for myself.
Also, Mataji, that is why I think, doing some kind of services is nice, because, when you're doing service, at that time, obviously you're conscious, you are focused on that I'm doing this for Krishna. And then what will happen is it will afterwards, become like it'll permeate to other things. Like even when you're cooking, let's say at home, because if you're going to offer, you have altar, you're going to offer. So you start thinking, oh, I'm cooking this for Jagannath, I'm going to offer this to Jagannath, or, so slowly it comes with practice, but it does come. It does come.
It will come, yes. Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody, anything else? Anybody has any comments to make?
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Sandeep Prabhu?
Mataji, what I do is, and even before coming to Krishna consciousness or ISKCON movement, I have always surrounded myself with, for example, on my laptop, I have the desktop as Krishna's picture.
Yes.
Or when I see something very beautiful, I think, oh, this is him. Or when I'm enjoying something, maybe a good music, or maybe driving and looking at the setting sun or the leaves changing color, it automatically comes to, oh my goodness, this is Krishna painting our universe in 3 dimensions. So this keeps me conscious, and since I've come to ISKCON about 2-3 years now, even in the dreams nowadays, because of this, I'm seeing deities and Krishna and
Wonderful, Sandeep Prabhu. Wonderful. This is such, it's so nice. My daughter says the same thing. When she sees the sunset, the beautiful sunset, she says to me, Mama, can't you see Krishna in this? You know, and that's how, what you're saying is practical tips. You know, when you first start on this spiritual journey, I was told that maybe have the screensaver of your office desktop as, you know, picture of Krishna, or, you know, write something somewhere, you know, next to your desktop. So when you just take your eyes off the screen, you look at, you know, either a picture or some verse of the Gita. So obviously, because we are not at that stage of pure devotees, you know, where we can automatically think of Krishna 24/7, we have to give ourselves these tools by which we can then think of Krishna.
Exactly. And also before sleeping, I sometimes fantasize that, you know, Krishna is sitting by a stream, playing his flute, and I'm one of the boys, one of his friends.
Oh, beautiful.
And then the whole night goes so beautiful.
That's nice. That's nice. Prabhupada has advised all of us that before we go to sleep, we must read one chapter of the Krishna book. So Sandeep Prabhu, maybe you can start doing that also, because then you will actually start seeing all the pastimes of Krishna in your dreams.
Great suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Is Bhagavati here?
Bhagavati Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes. The only thing I need to add into this, that you know, we say that moon's light enhances nutrition value to all plant life. Yeah.
Yeah.
This essence within the plant also gives energy to all life. Also gives us energy.
Yes.
And also, moreover, we nowadays go on Ayurveda, where many herbs have medicine value in addition to the nutrition value. So all these things doesn't happen in a jiff, does it?
No, you're right. You're right. So many people now are going on Ayurveda, and Ayurveda is only full of just herbs and plants, and everything is just plant-based. And it is not just giving us nutrition, like you rightfully pointed out, Bhagavati Mataji, it is curing us.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, it is curing us. And everything is coming from Krishna again, isn't it?
Of course. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't happen everything in one go, like you said in the past. It doesn't come like that. Someone is behind, and that is Krishna.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's wonderful. Anybody else, anything, or we can stop the session? Or?
Yeah, thank you, Madhu Mataji. Just I want to say thank you very much. Please accept my libations. It was a wonderful class from you. We learned a lot today.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarita Mataji.
Thank you, Bhagavati Mataji, and all of the participants who just really gave us enlightening about their own self-realization and understanding.
Yeah, it's important to share like that, so we all learn from each other.
Of
So
course, I agree 100%. Like, I would like to just say just one thing, that like, even before coming to Krishna consciousness in ISKCON, we born as a Vaishnava family. I've born in a Vaishnava family. So, you know, like my mom used to go to the Pushti Margya, so like a Havali Dharam. So, you know, when you look back for your own self and you think like, we are so fortunate. I mean, coming to Krishna consciousness, I feel more, I would say I would be more thankful to Lord for giving me birth in Vaishnavism, because then, you know, like in India, obviously we don't eat egg, meat, fish, everything like this is from childhood, because we born in Vaishnava family. So we ever, the relation to my mom, dad, my grandpa, great-grandpa, nobody ever have eaten all these things in life. And the way we've been brought up as well. So also like no eating onion, garlic, and, you know, certain principles to follow in life. So coming in ISKCON is a different way of learning the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, you know, through Srila Prabhupada's footstep. But even like learning after this, it makes me feel more and more thankful to Krishna for giving me birth in Vaishnava family, honestly.
You're very fortunate, Sangeeta Mataji. But you know what? Prabhupada has given all of us that good fortune, whether we are born in Vaishnava family or not. Prabhupada has given us this big family, and he has taken everybody, whether we were born as mlechas or yavanas or whatever, all of us, but he has now made all of us Vaishnavas, and we must be eternally grateful to Prabhupada.
No, that is true. No, what I meant to say is like, you know, I never felt that fortunate before ever, that what is the Vaishnavism is like. At this, you know, being in a Krishna conscious, like in a ISKCON, it makes you value for what is the Vaishnavism is, and you feel more thankful to Lord every day and night, that
thank you for giving me. I know we have to become a Vaishnava. End of the day, we all are Vaishnava once we are in a Krishna conscious. But giving that further, I mean, that's amazing. That's really thankful. That gratefulness is very much deep now in heart.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank
Prabhupada
you.
is teaching us through his purpose. Thank you, Sangeeta.
Of course. Thank you, Harvo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Madhu Kumari Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Vani Mataji.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for a wonderful class. You all are unique, all of you.
Thank you, Mataji. All your blessings. You know, I always take your blessings. I used to always on Sundays. You know that.
Oh, Krishna, you're doing wonderful. You are inspiration for us.
Oh, Krishnavani Mataji. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mataji, I just from this verse, I was thinking, you know, how Krishna is how perfect, you know, engineer he is, that how he has built this, you know, cosmos and all the planets and everything, you know, is in unique position, and he's such a great master that all his servants are, you know, like following his instruction 100%, that they don't even move inch from. And like, you know, sun god, and when you see they are so punctual, and which I have to learn from them, because I'm not punctual at all.
Oh, me too, me too. And Krishnavani Mataji, it's so nice the way you're saying it. I suddenly realized that how they all follow his instructions. There is no rebellion like how we see in our countries these days, in our current world, isn't it? There is nobody rebelling against Krishna's rule.
Yeah, they're perfect servant and they're following the perfect master.
Correct, correct. So you need a perfect master to make perfect servants.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And he is such a, what you call, wonderful, very, very kind, and I can't find the word, but the father who, you know, like, and he is no partial to anybody.
Yeah.
So even if he believes or not believe, or atheist, or even if he swears at whatever he does, but he's such a kind father that no matter what, but he will provide all these, you know, like necessities to them. So
that's wonderful, Mataji. That's such a wonderful realization that no matter what you do, he will still provide for you. That is so, he's so loving.
Yeah. And by the Bhagavad Gita knowledge, he is, you know, like, yes, true that, you know, we cannot develop, you know, like intense love for him because we cannot see, like you gave the example of, you know, the lovers, because, you know, young girl and boy, they are, you know, they can see each other personally, so they can develop that relationship. But for us, it's a bit difficult. But then Krishna gave in, you know, like Bhagavad Gita, that, you know, look at the nature and, you know, try to remember me. Correct. So the whole during the whole day, even if you're looking at the nature or trees or plants, fruits and flowers, then you can just be mindful of Krishna. So
correct. Yes, yes. Yeah. You can see it is, sorry, I can see it is 5 to 9. If anybody wants to leave the meeting, please do. But yeah, Palika Mataji, please continue.
Hare Krishna, Madhu Kumari. It was wonderful class.
Thank you.
Very step by step, you are bringing so Krishna so clear, you know, very near to us. That was, I really love. And the way
Palika Mataji, you're just very kind. You're so senior, but you're just very kind to me. Thank you very much.
It's wonderful. Very wonderful. Thank you so much, Madhu Kumari.
Always wonderful to have you, Madhu Kumari Mataji.
Thank you, Bhagwati Mataji. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, if there are no more comments, then can we end? I can see the time. It's almost 5 to 9. So anybody says anything? No? So we will end, and thank you all very much. Vancha kalpatrubhascha
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji, for the wonderful.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.